Hey Pro Nerds, it's Iggy here for another episode of Diving Deep, Project Nerds podcast where we dive deep into topics you won't hear us discuss on the other podcasts. This is episode 3. We've had a couple good episodes talking about some serious things, and we kind of keep on the trend of mental health, as this was intended to be released in May as well. I sit down with Mia St. Clair, another member of Project Nerd, and we dive deep into each other's emotions, depression, life, really. So sit back, listen to two of us talk about what we deal with, and if you can relate, hopefully we can help destigmatize some things around mental health. Welcome, Project Nerd listeners, to another episode of Diving Deep. It's our new podcast series where we are diving deep into serious topics. I am joined today by the wonderful Mia St. Clair.
Hey, everybody.
Big help here at Project Nerd.
I try to be.
Try
very hard to be.
One of our many amazing team members. So with Diving Deep, if you're not familiar yet, we're taking on some big topics. Our very first episode is a prime example of that. But not just talking with experts about certain things. I want to talk with other people that just are willing to open up about things. And I want to open up as well. So today, we are both going to go out of our comfort zones.
Oh, boy.
And talk. I think ultimately the goal really is to, these are things that everybody wrestles with. These are things that people deal with. And we're just going to talk.
We're just going to go into it.
Let what demons come out. What secrets come out that I don't edit come out. Things like that. So, but seriously, I know so far we've recorded, I don't know what order everything's going to air in, but we recorded a sex trafficking podcast with the CEO of Justice 61, an organization I definitely encourage people to check out. I've talked with a medical doctor regarding mental health and really focusing on the health side of the mental health, I guess. Mm-hmm. And part of it, what some of the podcasts that I love are where people, and even people I don't know, just get on there and just talk, and you learn so much about them. And I like those podcasts for multiple reasons. One, people get passionate when they're just let to do what they want to do. And you learn a lot, and you learn a lot of that things you deal with, other people deal with too. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's a thing that so many people miss or feel like they're lacking is that it's that comfort of knowing that other people go through something similar or anything even remotely close to, because when you grow up dealing with any sort of mental health issue, a big focus is that you feel so alone. And then now, with the help of social media, it's become a thing where we all recognize, oh, well, okay, I guess I'm not the only one, and we've all felt isolated in some way, shape, or form. And there are those who take advantage of it in a negative way, and then there are those who take advantage of it in a more positive way. And, through social media and the growth of it, we all see the all of that in a light. We see the positives and the negatives, and the people who take advantage and the people who don't, and the people who continue to remain hidden, and the people who just blast everything out there. I think we're finally getting to see all of the different facets of mental illness.
We are. And real quick side note, we are on location prepping for Planet Comic-Con. I don't know where some of those side noises are coming from, but I'm hearing them in my headphones every once in a while. So if that's their AC or heat for the building or whatever, I apologize ahead of time, but it is not a normal controlled recording. So please bear with us on some of those things. There was a weird noise when we were talking and I didn't know where it came from. But yes, I think for me, the biggest thing on Diving Deep is I really started listening to a couple podcasts and it's a celebrity podcast, so of course it's people that everybody knows anyways. Mm-hmm. But there was a lot of guests that I don't really know. Like I recognize the name or I've seen them in something, but they just dig into stuff, and it's amazing what some of those people talk about. And I'm sitting there listening to, especially it's Michael Rosenbaum's podcast, and the way he talks and hosts, and I'm like, I relate to this guy so much on so many things, and he's so honest and open about certain things. But other parts, too, is anytime we cover mental health on Project Nerd, the reaction is insane.
Yes.
And in December, I wrote the article for BoJack Horseman and kind of relating all 5 of the main characters to different aspects of mental health. And we got messages to the page. It was one of the top few things of the month. I was getting personal messages from friends talking about it and how much they love the show. And why they love the show is because of how real it is on all that stuff on the mental health side. And for me, it's a big thing because the more I talk about it, the more it feels like people come to us and say, yes, thank you. Like, we love Project Nerd, and we love that other people that have a voice to some level are saying, this isn't like, you're not abnormal. You're not weird.
You're not the only one.
Yeah. And so for some background for me, I say it is, I had a good childhood. I had a fine childhood. Parents were there. They divorced, but I mean, for people my age, that is incredibly common. And they get along. They still get along very well. All my family is in relatively the same area. I'm probably the black sheep of the family, but was never criticized for my geeky ways or thinking outside the box compared to my very rural country family. But I was depressed, and people are always confused by that. And it's the thing where people talk about it is a actual health condition. So my brain does not make all of the chemicals necessary for me to be happy all the time. And because of that, also I have narcolepsy because my brain can't make the chemicals to say, you're awake, Iggy, or you're asleep, Iggy. So it just does weird things. So all those things are impacted by it. And the reason I bring it up is because, especially in the Project Nerd channel, is I MC the competitions. We do all these panels. We have this huge brand with all these great people around. Everything's happy, and people hear about this, and they're like, dude, like, a great example is, why did you write this Blaze? And it's like, oh, this comic, the mental health. They're like, we see you on stage. You always smiling these weekends. Everything's good. And I'm like, well, yeah, things are good, but things can be great, and sometimes I just don't feel great about them.
Yeah. Yep. And my life was nothing like yours. I wouldn't say that, like, if you ask myself and my other two siblings, all three of us would say that we were the black sheep of the family, because that's how it felt individually for all three of us. But if you were on the outside and you looked at us growing up, you would have seen the picture perfect, the quintessential, the family that has it all. The only thing was that I guess they had the quote unquote traditional forms of sexes backwards. So I am the oldest, and I guess if you would to look at what back then was the quintessential family, you would have a boy as the oldest, and then
was that more common?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm the oldest.
Yeah. That was the ideal, is you would have a boy first, so he would exactly. Yeah. Exactly, but I was the oldest. Even among both of my parents, they were both the popular one, both of them. And I never really dive into my mother's side, but even she's one of 12, and her nickname, we're Puerto Rican, so she was in Puerto Rico, and they nicknamed her La Bomba, which she's the bomb. She's the coolest one. She was the most fun. And even now, there are some people still in her life who call her that. And she has her own incredible story, and I won't speak on her behalf about her own life, but that only played further into the picture perfect that was us. We were the family of 5. We were the life of the party when we showed up, and my mother was a sweet, good girl, and we had that ideal image going on about us, and it was so much deeper and darker underneath. And my depression comes from something entirely different than Iggy's depression. He chemically doesn't make those things. I probably do, but my life has been so to the other side that it's just this underlying constant because of it.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's something that's always in your head when you've dealt with big traumatic events in your life. But where do you think that for you, like, do you think that has caused you more to be creative, or has that stunted your creativity? It
has stunted my creativity big time. I have such a lust for life and a want to do things, and I'm an idea person. I have all of these ideas in my head, and people come to me about their ideas, and I just pop one out, and they're like, "Oh, I never thought of that." But I have all of this self-doubt and all of this lack of drive because of the depression that is there, and the voices that I hear as a child, they're still playing in there, and it's a lot of hard work to squelch them so that way I can make any step forward. So it's when I'm by myself and I reach peak boredom, that's when I'm at my most creative. But I'm so terrified of that boredom that I'm constantly trying to keep myself busy with other things. So it's like I get in my own way. And I don't know how to untie myself.
I think you hit on a key thing there, and I don't know. This is not medically supported, so I'm just saying this. But we talk about our generation is overworked, and we are taken advantage of in the work environment, and to a degree, it's true. I'm not going to take away from that. I feel I have that's a whole nother episode of my opinions on which I am a millennial generation and how we are treated and what we also don't do right, but. At the same time, I feel like we are the most depressed generation there has been a long time. And there's a lot of exterior factors too.
Yes.
The instant gratification generation, the dings that release those endorphins, all that stuff.
So much stuff was processed so quickly as we were growing, and we had to adjust all at the same time.
But I feel that so much of us overwork ourselves because, as you mentioned, we're afraid of that boredom.
Yes.
And that's where I feel like my Project Nerd's here, my comic creation here, all of it's here because I'm depressed, because I don't want to go home and sit down and do nothing. I have to constantly be working.
What even is doing nothing? So here's just to explain to you guys a huge difference between Iggy and I and how we operate under our depressed forms. He gets up early all the time. He has to do things. He has to do things. He has to do things. He's very organized. He is like key, here, this, thing, that, the other. They all have to be done. And I'm the entire opposite. I wake up late and I lay in bed for hours at a time. And only during those days is my peak creativity. There is a cosplay that I am debuting for Planet Comic-Con, which is my Stevani cosplay, and I did that an entire day. But I had spent the greater part of that morning just laying in bed being absolutely miserable. And then it just, boom, right there. The idea hit my head, oh my God, I actually have the wig for Stevani. And oh my God, I actually have the clothes to do this. And I finished it at the end of the day. And it was a closet cosplay that I just had to do some minor alterations in. And I put all that together. And I was just like, I'm so accomplished, I could do anything. And then the next day I didn't do a single thing.
Yeah.
And I'm also super messy.
Oh, it's a good point there. Like, no, it's not a one size fits all.
No.
And I think for so long, mental health was treated as a one size fits all.
It was.
And it's definitely, people react to it differently. And it's not saying one is better than the other, because at the same time, what I do then is I burn the candle at 20 ends, not even 2 ends, 20 ends.
Yeah.
So I wear myself so thin that I get sick, and and I get down trying to avoid getting down. So it's not saying one is better than the other. Oh, he just manages it better, so get out there because he's doing stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's always that taboo of depressed means you lay around and do nothing. Oh, he's overcoming it because he's doing stuff. No, it's just how I manage it. And again, it has its negatives and it has its positives, just like you were saying for yours.
Yes.
And I think I laugh at a lot of those memes, and we share a lot of them back and forth, of the anxiety or depression, these lists of things. And it's like, but they're real and it's funny.
They are.
Because this is us relating to it. But yeah, I think I could say kudos, thank you, depression of Iggy, for bringing us Project Nerd. I don't know. So never being able to not work.
Yes, you have to find a positive within all of that negative. I actually had a conversation with my aunt a few months back in November. I remember the specific time because November was a rough month. But I sat down with her and, hi, Titi Maria, I love you so much. I hope you listen to this podcast. She is one of my favorite humans in the entire world, and certainly one of my favorite aunts, and I'm so unashamed to claim that. She always has been. We've always had a connection. Even when I was younger, we just clicked. And we are on super opposite sides of a lot of spectrums, just across the board. But we have such respect and love for each other. And when we sat down and had a conversation, my mom was sitting right there. It was just the three of us. And she looked at me, she asked me how it felt to be successful. And I laughed. It wasn't like an obnoxious laugh. I was just like, what are you talking about? Because even though, I guess, quote unquote, on paper, but through social media, it does look like I'm successful. I'm doing music videos, I'm modeling, I'm cosplaying, I'm traveling to all of these conventions, all that other stuff. But as we have discussed yesterday, I have almost nothing in my bank account. And I don't know how I'm going to get my next paycheck to cover the rest of my bills. And I looked at her and I said, Titi, this is the hardest I've probably ever struggled in my entire life. I am living the starving artist. And I told her, I was like, I don't get paid for all of my modeling work. And I was like, in cosplay work, cosplay is like of all the passions that I could have had in my entire life, it had to be the most expensive one. Like, of all of them, because it is the perfect embodiment of everything that I love. Like, there are times when I want to act like the character, so I cosplay that character, so I get to act like them because I love acting. There are times where I pick a character because it embodies this sexiness and confidence that I want to have, and so I get to walk around and feel sexy and feel like the model that I try to be when I'm out in photo shoots. And I get to work with my hands, and I love working with my hands and make jewelry and sewing, and it's so freaking expensive. And so it's just like so the money that I do get in, first, I'll put it towards bills. And then the very little bit that I have left over, if I have anything left over, goes to those passions. And she was just blown away hearing that, because to all the rest of my family, I look great. It looks great, but it is not. And it is a constant struggle every day. I'd be so much farther if I didn't have depression. I would be where I've wanted to be for so long if I didn't have it.
Yeah, you touch on so many things there. Our generation, again, the cost of living changes to what we get paid compared to the generations earlier, which impacts that. All of us are, I hate to say it, we're not all trying to be the millionaires, but all of us have a side hustle. Like, everybody these days has a side hustle now. And it's because we've watched people do it successfully, and we're like, we want to do what we want to do.
Yeah.
And then other things like that all impact it is huge. But something you mentioned in there, which was actually on my brain, I love this because I think we both do relate on this one, is we both are very well known for just this confidence coming off of us. Everybody sees this huge amount of confidence from the two of us. Big personalities. She's putting herself out there with the modeling like that. She's so confident in the way she looks and what she does. He's out everywhere doing all these things. He gets on stage and talks about business and talks about
celebs, no problem.
Yeah. Doesn't show anything, in talking to these people that other people freak out about.
Yep.
And they don't understand. Like, I think the best was last summer when somebody mentioned and again, so much of this is recent of what people have triggered this stuff for me to talk these things. I got off stage at Omaha, and somebody said, man, I would just never have the courage and the confidence you do to just get up there. And because we were joking around that I butcher some of the anime names when I have to. It's the cosplay contest. It's not and I just roll with it. It's whatever. And people are like, that confidence to just keep going with it, especially when you mess up or something like that. And I'm like,
what
you don't understand is when I first get on that stage, I go into that room. Omaha is the one of the bigger ones we MC, and it's great. It's thousands of people come into that room to watch that cosplay contest. They take 2 rooms and combine them into one for the cosplay contest because it gets so full. And we go in there, and I go in that stage we get in that room, and I'm talking with the convention runner and talking with Tyler, who's up there with me, and we're sitting in there for an hour. And part of me being in there for that hour beforehand is I'm looking at the room, and I'm looking at it empty, and I'm digesting all these seats are going to be full. I'm going to get this anxiety through me in this hour before I'm actually up on stage. I don't realize that at any given time that my brain is saying, you don't have to do this. Just put the microphone down, go sit at your booth. You can just sit at your booth.
Just do that.
And talk into a microphone, into a thing you can edit and choose what people hear of you saying, as opposed to you being up there. And then I do it because I love doing it too. And I feel better afterwards, but it's rambling here because that's what I do. But the point being is, everybody thinks this is confidence. They don't realize
he's very hard on himself, guys.
I am. And we're wrestling with the same thing. Y'all are. And I like the way you said it. It's that you do it sometimes because that's where you want to be.
Yes.
So it gives you the opportunity to be that character, to model in that scenario because that's where you want to get.
Yes.
I like that because it helps you get there. And that's kind of what I'm saying too. It's like, I'm just going to get on stage and do it even if I'm nervous about it because it's getting me to the point to where I want to be able to eventually just walk into any room, 20,000 people in front of me and just give a TED Talk or something. I don't know.
Boom.
Yeah.
But what people don't realize is during those times, those are those 1 times out of the million times where we do have that confidence, because there's so many other times where we don't, where it's not there. And that's why I was saying earlier that, depression has stopped me from being exactly where I know I could be if I didn't have it. And it sounds like an excuse, but to most able-bodied people, of course, it sounds like an excuse. And, that day where I woke up and I told myself I was going to make that Savani, it was because I was excited. And that's the thing that lacks so much. I'm so worried about the financial situation. I'm so worried about Because I know if I got a regular 9 to 5, I wouldn't have the time to do any of the stuff that I love anyway. So I literally have to pick every day, which one do I want to struggle with? Do I want to go out and find a 9 to 5 and then, die every day? Or do I want to figure out, okay, I guess I'll just have to be a little bit more frugal with my, food spending or so-and-so, but I get to do what I love every day. Like, which do I want? And so to a lot of people who aren't in my head, it's easy. Well, get the 9 to 5. Okay, cool. Except I'll be dying every day. I've tried the 9 to 5s, and there's a reason why I struggle with maintaining a 9 to 5. It's because it doesn't fulfill me, and all it does is wreck my soul every day. Like, I have to go and fake it all the time. And that's, if I'm going to fake it, it's not going to be there. If I'm going to fake it, it's going to be because I'm getting paid buku money to fake it in acting or in cosplaying or things like that. It's going to be, if I'm going to fake it, it's going to be because it's what I'm enjoying doing at the time. And I, especially if you're getting stuck doing sales jobs for the kind of sales jobs that you don't even believe in, that you extra have to fake it every day. It's just soul crushing. It's just soul crushing.
Right, especially when you're selling something you're not interested in. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I am blessed right now. I hope they don't listen to this because I pretend to my bosses I'm not blessed so that they pay me when I do more. But for my career job, which is not Project Nerd, which a lot of people don't realize that because I get told a lot, like, you get to do this for a living. No. This is a side hustle. We don't
He does so much outside of Project Nerd.
Blogs and podcasts, surprise, if you're not a celebrity, they don't bring you in a bunch of money.
Yes.
It's not happening. And traveling to conventions, conventions, all the people that are working there are volunteers. So we get a lot of great partnerships with them, get free space, get access and stuff. But we still got to travel out there. We still got to eat while we're out there and things like that. Anyways, bosses, close your ears, is I am blessed because I can't do routine. And so I have to find the job that gives me the ability to work with something I like, to be different every day, but also allow me to be the organized OCD person I am. And I have that right now. My clients are companies that I love their products of. So I'm excited to learn more. So when we get to go visit them and see their products, it's exciting as opposed to being like, oh, cool, you got a new whatever out, like a new medical device. Because a lot of our company does like work with medical companies. I'd be like, this is boring. I don't care. You got a new thing.
Like, I don't want this.
Yeah. No, I get to do, with a consumer electronics client. And again, it's client facing. So I don't go sit down, look at a computer screen, enter data into a screen for 8 hours. And for some people that works. It's, we're in a geek world. So there's a lot of those engineer type people, those people that do that and it works for them. For me, I would, like you said, I'd go crazy. I would just go crazy. So I'm in that position to where I'm going to show up today. Somebody's not going to deliver something. Somebody's going to be mad on the client. Something's going to happen. And to me, that's exciting because then now I got a problem solve. I got a puzzle. And as we mentioned earlier, it keeps me thinking about something else and not being bored over here thinking about myself.
Right.
So
I want to caveat something really quick.
Yeah.
Because you and I are you're one of the people who can do the status quo of having that 9 to 5 and still manage something to the side. I am not anywhere in there. I am over here.
Yeah.
But then there are certain people who are further. You guys aren't seeing me point everywhere. But let's say I'm over here on the left side being
Far
no
left.
9 to 5.
Stretching the left arm all the way out.
Yep. That's all the way over there. And Iggy's in the middle where he does have the 9 to 5 and he also has his passion projects.
Middle is self-descriptive.
And then...
I'm helping you here.
Okay.
Anyways.
And then there's all the way to the right, the people who I wish there was a better term to describe it, but are comfortable with quote unquote mediocrity, which it technically isn't. To them, it could be everything they've ever wanted.
I think
help me find a better term because it sounds awful.
The routine.
Okay.
The routine.
With the routine. First off, I'm not a routine person.
Yeah.
But there are people who thrive in that. And oh my God, do I applaud all of you for that. My sister's one of those people. My mother's one of those people. They need routine. They're two of the cleanest people that I know. Their houses are always clean. It always smells good. Like, I love walking into their house because it just smells amazing. But I love the smells, but my house will never be as clean as theirs. Will it be sanitized? Sure. But when you walk into my room, will you find clothes everywhere? Well, yes, you will. You will find clothes everywhere. It will be everywhere.
Not in my place.
No, not at his place. His place is so spotless. No, it is I think people who are comfortable in routine are very understated because the people who are like on my side of that particular spectrum are so larger than life and so hungry and crave and have such passion that it overshadows the passion of other people who do have routine. And that's why I think that they don't get noticed as much. But without routine people, the world would not function. This is so essential. I felt like I needed to say that because we're talking about larger than life things, and then there are people who that's just not for them, and that's freaking great because we still need you. You're still very functional in society.
And it's definitely like, and those people not necessarily aren't doing larger than life things. It's just in that daily routine at that moment. Mm-hmm. There are things that aren't typically defined. And you put a great point. I immediately thought about it with pop culture references, everything like that, where they're staying safe on dry land, a certain song that has those lyrics, doing all these things to where it's just, but yeah, some people are comfortable in that. Some people aren't. And I like the word you used, said, this is the status quo. And then you built this whole spectrum of people. And it's like, yeah, there really is no status quo, but we define this as the status quo. And we define these as the crazy fireworks, the ones that are exploding and making things happen. But to be honest, you look at some of those people that made things happen. Let's talk in Elon Musk.
Yes.
He's a programmer. He doesn't know how to communicate to people because was that person who was routine in front of a screen and just decided, I'm going to program this PayPal thing and then sold it. And now he is the firecracker, so he went from the routine to the firecracker. So you also don't have to live just in one spot of that spectrum too. You can move around depending. You
can start as the firecracker and then realize your comfort was actually in routine.
Yeah. And that's a great way to put it. I think another thing, and maybe, a future episode, is also having a third party here who is the expert in all this stuff. Cause I keep wanting to relate it to stuff. Cause again, our generation, we are criticized for job hopping, for trying new things, for trying to find our passion.
I live that.
The generation before us was just,
you start here, you end here.
I take the job at 18, I'm done at 64, and I retire.
Yes.
We don't have that. One, I'm not being paid enough to just say I can deal with this routine day in and day out because, again, everything costs much more to live, and I'm still being paid the same rates my parents were being paid for their jobs, and it's
comparatively.
Two, we're the instant gratification generation.
Need it.
So I can go, I have come to an understanding that I'm not going to get what I want today all the time.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm going to go get it. Especially when it comes to food.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways.
More on that later.
But at the same time, I also am that person where it says, I am not going to do something for 20 years so that way I can get to 2 promotions and barely be able to go buy my house and do this stuff. So I'm not going to also say it, I don't want it to be at this bad light when I say that we're the instant gratification generation, because at the same time, I think that's also helped us recognize that we don't have to be that slave for 20 years to finally get what we want. We can go try to make it happen more quickly.
I think that's a part of life where I don't want to say it like as a country, as a world, as an age, like I don't know what the term would be for that, or maybe it is generation. It's just where we're reaching a medium, I guess you could say. Like we don't have, for the people who want to start one place and end right there, great, cool, do that, do you. But then there are those people who are like, all right, I have gotten everything I could get out of this position. I'm going to go try this over here. Pay cut, cool. Not pay cut, better. But I want to try this now. Hey, cool, fine. You do that too. Like there's this hopeful acceptance of what works for you works for you. Like there are definitely, you and I see it all the time on all of our news feeds, where there are people who are not accepting of how others want to do and blah, 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 blah. But I think overall the tone of the generations coming forward is if it's making you happy and it isn't like physically harming others or even, mentally or emotionally harming others, then do it.
Right.
I wish you guys could see our facial expressions because they're great, but just do the thing.
Well, I mean, because each thing we talk about opens up a whole new, we just need to start listing the next episodes that these spin off of, because even right there, how much could we talk about, internet trolls and gatekeepers who don't let us do the things we want to do that aren't hurting them, stuff like that. And how does that impact people's depression? Because I'm doing this thing that doesn't impact you and I love it, but now everybody's criticizing me for it.
Right.
So now my confidence is gone. These people that don't even know me and had no reason to sit here and criticize me for it just blew up that confidence that I finally finally, you don't even know how long it took me to get to this level to do it. Yeah, so there's so many external factors, and there's so many things over the life of diving deep that I want to get into about my stuff, and I can talk about a relationship that has just changed who I am emotionally, mentally, everything, physically even. Yeah, like I've changed who I am physically over the past 3 years.
Yes.
I am now a man. I used to be a woman. No. It's anyway, my point is that, there's negatives and positives in those changes, that there's so much that the depression, the burying myself in work, the way I treat other people, all the things like that have been impacted by the external factors as much as they have been by the chemicals that don't develop in my brain.
Yes. I want to say something really quick before we dive even deeper into our psychologies and our pasts.
Oh, we have to dive deeper into that?
Oh, yeah, even deeper.
Oh,
we've been about, I don't know.
We've been wallowing in the shallows? Or
yes. Just to keep it a little light before we dive deeper. But one thing I want to say before we do that is, if someone with depression or anyone who is very
anxiety?
No. It starts in
introverted?
Yes, thank you. I was going to say introspective. That's not the word. Introverted. When they finally come out and spend time, or they do a thing that you've been wanting them to do not negate it. If they come out, just be happy that they're there. If let's say that I was stuck in my room all the time and I finally decided to join my family. Oh, you finally decided to join us?
Gosh.
No, well, I'm going back upstairs now. F you.
Yeah, it was the worst.
I don't think so. So that is just for anybody. Like, even I have to keep track of it sometimes when it comes to myself, like being kinder to myself and to other people. Just be happy that they're there. The more excited you are that they're there, the more likely they are to come out anyway. You have to meet anxiety with love. Oh man, quote of the day. Exactly. Oh, you have to meet it, because they're anxious to come out here. They probably don't want to deal with you. They just don't like people in general, and they finally do. Just meet it with happiness and love.
I love that you bring that up, because again, you said it's something you also have to remind yourself of, and for me, for sure, because I live in a world where my closest friends, if we aren't making fun of each other or giving each other hard times, something is not right.
Yes.
So when those situations pop up, it's naturally to go that way, to give them a hard time or stuff about it. But it's exactly, you got to pump the brakes sometimes. And a great example is my son. I don't get it, because I am, as much as I am, we talk about all these things, I am still very extroverted.
Yes.
People energize me. Being around people, doing things energize me. And I think that's what also helps me from not, from going out and doing all these project nerd things. My son is not that way. No. And it's hard. My daughter is. So my daughter and I, that clicks right there. Like I can put her in an environment, know it's going to be fine.
She's a life of the party.
Yeah. And my son is not, which is not wrong. It's just he's different. He's introverted. He'd rather do his thing. He'll kind of hover around the walls in a big group, on the outside. And I have to, for so long, I just wanted to thrust him in the middle. Just do it. Why won't you do this? Why won't you do that? And it had to be to where it's like, I got to be a better parent here. I've got to understand why he's this way so I can better do it. And it's exactly right. For so long, I would just not even necessarily give him the hard time, but there would be times where I'd make a smart remark or do the thing that, my parents would do to me in those times. And it's like, I can't do that anymore. Can't do it. I was diving deep there.
No, that was great. That was great. Then that was one of the reasons why I brought it up, because that was not really a thing for me. I am one of those people, I decide. So I go back and forth between being extroverted and introverted, but it's when I'm comfortable. My comfort has everything to do with how extroverted or introverted I am around a group of people or a single person. And and that's why I always want to be aware of it, even for myself, because all day I may be super introverted and finally I reach a comfort level and I'm ready to engage, and then someone will say something and I'll try to smart mouth it back and pretend like that didn't bother me, but like, you have no idea how hard it was to get to this point of being comfortable to come out and engage with all of you. But also when I'm on that extroverted side of the spectrum, I want to be able to embrace the person who did just deal with that and finally is here with us, and I want to give them that love and attention. Like, I'm so happy that you're here, and like, I have to give myself a little check mark here. I am exceptionally good at getting people who are very uncomfortable to open up.
I will give you that check mark. I was going to say everybody close to you would probably say that you are very good at that you are one of the best.
Thank you. I try. All right. So I think the one of the big topics that we had talked about yesterday, briefly, because I wanted to save it for this talk.
Which I got in trouble because I forgot most of what.
Yes, he did. He did get in trouble before we got started. He got in trouble for a brief moment there. I wanted to talk about self-medication.
Oh, yes.
And actual medication.
I remember what we're supposed to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Versus actual medication.
Because I am entirely self-medicated when it comes to all of my problems. And there's a lot of very unhealthy things that I have done and things that have helped me be a better person. And all of it for me dealt with a lot of self-reflection and taking the time. And even then it's hard because, oh man, I'm already scared of myself and all of these darker parts. And yeah,
you're pointing at me. So
I am.
So the first thing I say, and I said it yesterday when we talked about it briefly, is everybody who has any kind of mental health can, like, whether it's we talk about personality disorders, schizophrenia, bipolar, just depression, and I hate to say just depression, dismiss it, it's still a big deal, or even just anxiety, and handles and happy. You self-medicate at some point and everything.
Oh,
and we
sure.
joke, and it's a whether you do it with harmful substance or not. And I've seen it in pop culture references as well, too. I'm going to the movie of Spanglish, not a very popular Adam Sandler movie.
That is one of my favorite Adam Sandler
but
movies.
It's very good because the way he is self-medicating is with food and looking outside.
Yep.
And with the way she's self-medicating is she's exercising how many hours a day? And by he and she, I mean the mother and father and
Yes.
the family. And so to her, that's completely healthy. She's taking care of herself. She's eating right. She's exercising, but she's running for hours upon hours a day and she's running away. So she's self-medicating.
Yes.
Whether you define that as a healthy way to do it or not, obviously most people would say that's a lot more healthy than shooting up drugs to self-medicate. But you could also
doesn't take away.
Yeah, you could also find negatives for it. Anyway, so everybody self-medicates to some level. So nobody is I don't want to say above that or around that or whatever. But there is the different thing, and it is for many, many years. So when I was in high school, I was in middle school when I first really got kind of depressed, and I got really sick. I have a lot of physical health problems, which relate to all that stuff with the brain, just saying, I'm not working today. And they said, you're depressed. You're not making these chemicals. And I was like, I don't like this. So they tried to even word it ways and stuff like that. So they took me to therapy. I didn't take therapy serious. I even was a smart ass that as a teenager, just today I'm just going to go and answer no to every question he asked.
Wow.
And he even was like, okay, I'm going to ask this. Is the sky blue? And nope. And just so then he'd give up. So my parents gave up on it. And sorry to put my parents on the spot there, but that was a fail on their part. And again, this is years ago when it still was, mental health wasn't talked about as much.
Very
so it was
taboo.
less. So for many years, I self-medicated, and to a degree, I still self-medicate on, be surprised, everybody, food.
Boom.
Food is my thing. And
you guys have no idea how many food things we share back and forth as well.
Right? So
isn't your Instagram just entirely of
pretty
food?
much my Instagram is food. Anyways, it's, I've self-medicated other ways too. There have been periods. I've never heavily drank. I've never really
Same.
used drugs. I've
Also
never
same.
there's most hard drugs I've never even touched.
We'll have to get someone on who has.
I've lived that life though, because a big part of my life for many years, and putting her on the spot here, was dealing with somebody extremely close to me, self-medicating with very harmful things, and me having to clean up that mess.
Yeah.
And so I've seen it all, and I think that's also what's helped me stay away from so much of it, to be honest. But it got to a point where I just hit rock bottom with so many things, even without going into those deep, like terrible self-medicating things, to where I now do the therapy. I do go ahead and take the medicine every morning, and I don't want to. And I think that's actually where it kind of spurred the conversation, is where I was talking about, I don't want to carry around the bottle that says depression meds.
That's right.
Even though I'm sitting here talking about it, telling people, I'm trying to be more open about it. How many people do I know that are taking some kind of anxiety or depression meds? I still am somehow a person who doesn't get embarrassed very easily, embarrassed by that bottle.
Yes.
Because of the taboo of it still. But it helps me, because all that other stuff I would do would only temporarily fill what my brain's not doing. Like my brain is not doing it. Food is not going to release all the chemicals my brain needs to. It's going to clog these arteries and cause a lot more
cause
problems.
The opposite.
Right? Exactly. So I think where you were going, saying that I am right now being the example of properly, or to, what do you call it, not self-medicating.
Yes. He's taking more steps towards not self-medicating and doing what he is, quote unquote, supposed to be doing. And I'm the entire opposite. I haven't gone to therapy. And I haven't gone to therapy in years. And when I did go to therapy, my therapist was super sweet, very supportive. She was not a bad match for me, in fact. She was very open to listening to me. If I would have kept going, if we could have afforded for me to have kept going, it probably would have been really great for me. But that is not what happened. My life, just all the things that could have gone right ended up not going right for me. And that is absolutely still no excuse. Like if I really wanted to, I could get on Medicaid and use that and go to a therapist. But I recognize I have pride issues. And I told myself years ago when I got out of the house with my mother, who loves us so much, and all she has is pride in us and not pride in herself. And she cares so much more about taking care of us, that she was fearless about getting on all of those things if it meant that she could better take care of us. I am not that way.
I will say it right here, recorded on a Project Nerd thing. When we had our first kid, I say me and my ex-wife had our first kid, 19 years old, we got on federal assistance. I mean, that's what it's there for. And I'm not ashamed to say it, in the fact that I know it's still a huge debate and war. And again, that people try to put such a negative light on it because of people that abuse it. We used it for when we needed it, and then we were off of it. So it was there for. So I'm saying to empower other people who do feel that way, because so many people are embarrassed. I can remember when we'd go to the doctor with the kid and the insurance card, and my ex-wife would be like, hesitate to even show the insurance card to the doctor. It's like, they already know. They already know what we're on. We've been to this doctor before. They've seen it. Like, so, but it's still, again, it goes to that bottle I was saying earlier. We hesitate. We're embarrassed by this thing. That's what it's there for. I'm taking this medicine because I need it. Yes. We were on that program. Anyways, you go on.
Yeah. And I am the opposite, because I was on it for so long growing up. No, absolutely not. To me, that is a representation of failure, even though my mother was not. My mother is one of the strongest. She is an inspiration to me. And even now, like, she is living her best life for the love of the universe. All three of us, my siblings and myself, we're all struggling, and she is traveling the world. She's doing amazing, and none of us are jealous. She deserves it, and she needs to go out. She needs to continue it. Where has she gone recently? Oh, she was in oh God,
I want to be jealous of this too, so I can.
It was in Central America.
Was she hiking?
I think mountains, it was like Panama, Costa Rica, Mexico. It was one of those. It was one of those, like super right there.
Awesome.
And she went for quite a while. She was sending us pictures and all that other stuff. She was just having the time of her life. And she went to Canada by herself. Like, she never gave us the notion that she ever hated being on any of those things. She was just happy to take care of us. But in my mind, watching her struggle, I told myself, I never want to struggle like that. And it has absolutely nothing to do with how she represented it to us, because we never felt the weight. All she did was carry it, and we just benefited from her love. But in my mind, if I ever got to a place where I had to admit that I needed to do that, in my mind, I failed. Because I guess if I'm really thinking about it, it's just, I want to be a source of pride for her, in that I don't ever have to be there or do those things. She never makes me feel like I have to prove that to her. I put that pressure on myself.
Well, I think real quick. So,
Mommy, you're great. I love you.
Real quick, what I think it's important to say, and what you are definitely saying and making it, I don't want to say you're struggling to say it, but you're definitely, you're using a lot of words to try to say it, is we don't want anybody to think we're saying one thing is wrong and one thing is right.
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
We understand, if you are able to do work within something that is in the system, or if you're able to develop your own way, so AKA self-medicate in a way that is healthy and doesn't harm others, as you mentioned earlier, and works for you, then do it. So we're not saying one way is better than the other. We're not saying do or don't use Medicaid or Medicare and feel guilty if you do because somebody doesn't want to use it or anything like that. It's how we personally feel about that specific thing. But I'm speaking for both of us here, because I know you agree with me, is neither one of us is going to criticize one way or the other if somebody is doing it that
absolutely
way.
Not.
Unless you're harming others.
Right. Or you're purposefully taking advantage of the system, in which case, big nope to you all the way to the other side. That has all sorts of connotation. I don't even know what I meant.
It's a whole nother episode too.
But oh God, no, I had it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Got rid of it by using a Clair point, and now you know.
Oh, yes. Another way that I self-medicate is I can't afford health insurance. I can barely afford my car payment.
And that is a whole series of diabetes.
That is a whole. Oh yeah, that is a big one, especially between the two of us because we've had this conversation many times.
I'm not a fan of our healthcare system. Go on though.
Yeah. I asked for this leaf thing that I actually constantly wear, and I only take off during certain times. And it's biometrics. So because I also know I have anxiety and not just depression, and because I also know that I suffer with nightmares and have a terrible sleeping schedule and all this other good stuff, having this leaf on me close to my chest keeps track of all of that for me. And it tells me, what times during the day. It keeps track of as much as anything biometric can without being like inside your body and telling it to a computer. And it is one of the few ways that I can keep track of myself, and do better for myself. Like, okay, I recognize when I'm having heart palpitations because I get them quite often. And the other day, like you didn't know, and I couldn't announce it because we were out with everybody. But that moment when we were all sitting down and I just like put my hand on you, I was having a really bad heart palpitation moment. And I couldn't tell you about it because I didn't want to take attention away from these people you hadn't seen in years. But there was nothing that anybody else was doing that gave me this feeling that I should be anxious. But I also didn't know how to engage with everybody. And that was
environment. I mean, that is if you want to talk about something, anxiety hits everybody. New environment is definitely one of them. Mm-hmm. Those were people I had known for years, and you come in as the new person, the outsider in that group. Definitely.
My heart was like, Mia, this is nerve-wracking. How do you engage? There was just so many years between you guys. There was no way I could keep up. Mm-hmm. But I was enjoying them. They're all absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And I truly enjoy all of them. And so I'm excited to get to know them more and spend more time with them. So that's another thing. It wasn't like any of them were bad. It was just my body was freaking out because it was something new. And when I have my group of friends here, like that is a thing that I have owned on multiple occasions. I am a very selfish and possessive person, and I have to fight it every day. And that was actually something you and I touched on yesterday as well, while we were, kind of doing an overview of all of this. If it were up to me, everybody would live close to me. And I wouldn't ever have to be without them because I have abandonment issues. And so I'm constantly just like, please stay with me, please stay with me. And I have to fight it all the time because controlling someone is not loving them. Demanding them all the time isn't loving them. Not giving them freedom is not loving them. And I have to remind myself and train myself every day that the way I was brought up and how to love is not how you love somebody. I have to, like, with you, like, we always have this conversation where I'm like, no, you can do your thing. And you're like, no, but I'm here for you. Just like, and we're constantly going back and forth like that. And I have to be that way with all of my friends and my family, except my immediate family. They are, in fact, the ones that I keep away on purpose because I know, and I have also had this conversation with my mother and my aunt at that same time. I was like, if I lived with my family, my focus will be so much on them that I will have forgotten my dreams. And my dreams are very focused on taking care of them in the future. And if I'm too busy trying to take care of them now, when I know they're okay and I know that they have each other, I will lose everything that I'm trying to fight for when it comes to them. So they're the only ones that I purposefully keep away for that exact reason. But everybody else, if I could have all of you in one ginormous house with me, I'd be the happiest person alive. But I have to remember that that's not how I care about you guys.
You also, I keep throwing in, like, you don't realize how many external factors are out there. And as stereotypical as this sounds, you're also dealing with a cultural factor when it comes to family.
Yes,
and
I am.
Being that close to family.
Oh, yeah.
Because Latin culture, that is it.
You are all there. Yes.
That is it. So there's also that weight of that's put on your shoulders. Mm-hmm. To where me, as a white as white can be, like to the point to where I can say I have white privilege through and through. I'm a 30-year-old white male that grew up in the United States. Nobody tells me no to anything, basically. And I don't mean that as a positive thing. It's also a negative thing. But my point is I can go where I want to and all that. And there's My mom definitely gives me guilt because she's her, but there's
Yes.
there's no that expectation that this generation took care of this generation. It wasn't over and over. My mom states away from her parents. My dad states away from his parents. With that culture thing, and not just your culture, and especially in other countries stronger than the United States, where that culture, that's still, like Japan is a great example. A lot of Asian cultures where the grandparents live with, like,
they're there.
It's 4 generations in the same house.
Yes.
Like, you don't go anywhere.
You're all there.
That weight is heavy.
Oh, and if you leave, specifically in Asian cultures, from what I've gathered through Asian friends and
You're
just
not
watching.
part of this family anymore.
Yeah, but if you do, like, if you leave, the only positive light is because you're going to school to provide to come back to the family.
Exactly, yeah.
That is how that works. And it's taken a lot of the weight in his, because I can only speak truthfully on behalf of my Hispanic culture.
Yes.
Is that the weight of being around your family all the time is real. It is. There's, like I said, my mother is one of 12. Like, they're family units, and even if one group of family had so many kids and they had so many kids, like, they're still all together pretty much. Like, it's very rare that someone will deter from that. But I happen to have been blessed with a mother who wants to make up for our childhood so strongly, and she believes in her children so much that, God, when she and I had the conversation, it was absolutely beautiful. She said to me that the last time she ever worried about me was right towards the end of high school. It wasn't too long after I had Jay, who is my daughter. And she was just like, I have never worried about you ever again. I've never worried about you. And that only tells me that all the fighting that she and I did in my high school years, as awful as it was and as guilt-ridden as I feel about it, has only worked in the positive, because now I can truly go out and do. It was like she gave me her blessing without giving me her blessing. Telling me, okay, Mamita, you can go do your thing, and I will just be right here waiting for you.
It's a powerful moment. Like,
it's very.
Parents don't realize how much of an impact even on young adult or adult children they have on saying those specific things. And it is for sure. And it is in these moments, these past 3 years, 3 to 4 years, where my life has changed dramatically. And to hear my father say the things of, well, it's you. I know that part's going to be taken care of.
Yeah.
I know you, and not, sorry, siblings, if you actually listen to anything I do, but when you're working out on the farm. But anyways, it's, not taking away from them, but it is. I'm the states away. I've, 18, I had the money saved up. I took care of it. And right now, I went through divorce, did all this stuff. So it's not been the same, but it was I had it all figured out. I had it all balanced, at least in my mind.
Yeah.
And in my dad's mind, that was the same way. So now he says to me those things, and it makes me feel better in that moment when I'm freaking out about something, because I'm like, this isn't the same it was 6 years ago, because now I'm one income and this and that, and it doesn't work. And it's like, nope, it's you. You're going to be able to take care of it. And it's like, wow, that feels great. Like, it feels just great. And again, I'm in my 30s, like, and it's still.
You still need that.
Yeah, you
that
do.
validation. You still need that.
Definitely.
There are plenty of people with awful relationships with their parents, absolutely abhor them, and I have that. All I have is my mother, who I have a beautiful relationship with. But if you would have caught me 10 years ago, she was the bane of my existence, the absolute bane of my existence, and I couldn't stand her.
Oh, I moved out at 18. It was a fight as I moved out with my family.
It was just, I'm not going to be here. Like, F you, I'm going away.
Right.
This is not happening. And it was a fight. Mommy just wanted to love us, and she wanted to keep us safe after so many years of thinking that she had us safe, and then realizing that, oh my God, the safety that I thought was my children's home was the opposite. They were the least safe in this home that I loved and helped build. Like, I know the guilt that she feels about, and we'll dive into that here in a couple of minutes, like specifically what I'm talking about.
Dive as deep as you want.
The dive is deep. Yeah, I don't know how many hours we've got, but we're just going to be here.
Actually, we are coming up on time, so we might be wrapping up here.
Oh
on this
no,
episode.
we'll have to deep dive into that specific.
Well, it's a good thing we stay in touch here and there, so we can talk on more of these episodes.
We do.
We'll share some food pictures and then talk more.
Food pictures. We have so many things that we want to do coming up, actually, and food stuff is one of them. I'm
glad you brought up time, because we are pretty much at time right there. I don't know. There is so much that can be said, and I feel like a number of diving deeps, and probably obviously you coming back and other people coming on, and again, there's another episode recorded, whether it's already aired or airs after this, with Dr. Ben Cole, where we talk more on the medical side of it. Diving deep to such a big part of it was the mental health side, and not mental illness, is specifically mental health. And we're talking about external factors and in things that happen to us when you're younger and stuff like that, as well as the medicating part, which we didn't get into too much on the self-medicating versus
no. But you know what? We dived into so many other things. I think this is a good branch, like a good episode in which we can branch into other things. Like this is a look forward to episode for you guys.
Say, when you're listening to episode B, we'll say go back and listen to this episode first, and then we get more listens. I mean, you guys get more education,
more content,
right? Yeah, you guys get more education on things and stuff. But again, I think ultimately the goal here with Project Nerd, with our whole new things we're doing, we've got tons of new podcasts coming your way, and some of them much more serious, is we want to say we feel you, we see you,
we do,
we are you.
You are valid.
Yes, it's important to understand, especially in a community. You know, I love it that my kids are growing up where this is all normal, and we overlook sometimes that the people our age, especially the ones a few years older than us, they were picked on and abused and treated terribly for loving these things we do. So those are the people that are listening, that are here in our community, and I want to say it's cool. We love you. Go out there. If you find the way to self-medicate properly without hurting others, do it. If you feel that doing the therapy is great, because I did want to dive into that too. It was, what got me to therapy was crazy. It was a weird happening, and there's a lot of things that we just want to say. We know. I don't. That was really I don't know. Anyways, I just started rambling and then got weird at the end. But hey, I don't know. Well, I think we have to wrap this one up. As much as we don't want to.
Oh man, we could be here for hours.
We could, and we have to. So Mia, I appreciate you diving deep with me. I think we explored some new things on this deep dive. Some new things. We're like James Cameron and his special submarines diving into the ocean and finding.
We're gonna have to re-listen to this and then list things to make deep dives off of.
As an edit, I'm gonna, when I hand this over to an editor, and be like, every time we mention something that's a whole nother episode, put that on a piece of paper.
Yep, put it down.
There we go. So, all right. Well, that's it for this episode of Diving Deep. Until next time.
Bye.